Hi, I'm Steven. You've seen them your whole life. Those little gold and black pips on a Starfleet officer's collar, the stripes on a sleeve, the difference between someone who takes orders and someone who gives them. But have you ever actually stopped to work out what they all mean? How you get from a fresh-faced cadet to sitting in the captain's chair and then beyond it? Today, I'm going to explain every Starfleet rank, from the very bottom to the very top, what each one does, what the insignia looks like, and how an officer climbs the ladder. And I'll be honest with you about the parts where Star Trek itself can't quite keep its own system straight, because the ranks are more inconsistent across the shows than you might think, and that's actually part of the fun. Let's get into it, starting at the bottom, before you've even earned a pip. Everyone starts here, as a cadet. A cadet is a student at Starfleet Academy, not yet a commissioned officer, someone still in training. We've seen plenty of them. Wesley Crusher worked his way through the academy, and a young Kirk, Spock, and McCoy show up as cadets in the films and newer shows. Cadets wear a distinct uniform and carry insignia marking their year, and they're addressed as cadet, not by any officer's rank. Here's the thing I want you to keep in mind about cadets, because it pays off later when we talk about one of Star Trek's darkest episodes. Cadets are students, but Starfleet is a quasi-military organization. So these students can end up in genuine danger, sometimes far beyond what students should ever face. The Academy is famously rigorous, 4 years minimum, brutally competitive, and it produces some of the finest officers in the galaxy. But a cadet is exactly that, a trainee. They haven't earned the right to command anything yet. That comes with the first real rank, the one every officer remembers getting. When a cadet graduates and is commissioned, they typically become an ensign. This is the entry-level commissioned officer rank, the bottom rung of the real ladder, and its insignia is a single solid gold pip on the collar. The eternal example here is Ensign Harry Kim on Voyager, who, in a running joke among fans, somehow stayed an ensign for the show's entire 7-year run while everyone around him got promoted. Here's what an ensign actually is. They're a junior officer, fully qualified, but green. They man secondary stations, lead small tasks, and learn the ropes of real starship duty under more experienced officers. An ensign can stand a bridge watch and give orders to enlisted crew, but they're at the start of their career. And I'll be honest, the ensign is where Star Trek's optimism really shows, because the show treats even its most junior officers as capable, intelligent people trusted with real responsibility from day one. One solid gold pip. It doesn't sound like much, but it means you made it through the academy, and Starfleet decided you were worth commissioning. Everyone from Picard to Janeway started exactly here. Next, you climb into the lieutenant ranks, and there are 2 steps here that people often blur together. First comes lieutenant junior grade, whose insignia is 1 gold pip and 1 black pip. Then comes full lieutenant, marked by 2 solid gold pips. The jump might seem small, but these are the workhorse ranks of any starship, the officers who actually run things day to day. Here's why these ranks matter so much. A lieutenant is experienced, trusted, and usually running a department or a key station, helm, security operations. Think of the kind of officer who's been around, knows the ship, and gets things done. Lieutenant junior grade is the in-between step, more seasoned than an ensign, not yet a full lieutenant. And here's one of those inconsistencies I promised you. Star Trek is genuinely sloppy about these middle ranks. Characters get called lieutenant when their pips suggest something else. The junior grade rank sometimes seems to vanish entirely, and the dialogue and the costumes don't always agree. Don't feel bad if you've never been totally sure which lieutenant is which. The show itself isn't always sure either. But broadly, the lieutenant ranks are where an officer proves they can lead, before they step up to actually running the ship's departments as a senior officer. Then we reach lieutenant commander, whose insignia is 2 gold pips and 1 black pip. This is a senior officer rank, and it's a significant one. Data spent much of the next generation as a lieutenant commander while serving as second officer of the Enterprise. This is the rank where you're not just running a station, you're running a whole department, and you're plausibly in line to command. Here's what makes lieutenant commander interesting. It's the rank of the serious, established senior officer, the chief engineer, the chief of operations, the kind of person the captain leans on. An officer at this level has real authority, real expertise, and is often being quietly groomed for command. It's the threshold between being a specialist and being a leader of leaders. When you see a lieutenant commander, you're usually looking at one of the most competent people on the ship, someone who's mastered their field and is ready for more. And the next step is the big one, the move into the command structure proper. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit subscribe. It really helps the channel, and there's plenty more Trek coming. Now, we get to the ranks that actually run the ship. Now, we reach Commander, marked by 3 solid gold pips. And this is a rank everyone recognizes even if they don't realize it, because the first officer of a starship usually holds it. Commander Riker, Commander Spock, Commander Chakotay, the captain's right hand, is almost always a commander. Here's the role, and it's a crucial one. The commander is typically the executive officer, the second in command, the person who runs the ship so the captain can focus on the mission and who takes the chair the moment the captain is off the bridge or off the ship. The famous example is Riker, who was offered his own command several times but chose to stay as Picard's number 1. And that points at something interesting about this rank. It's powerful enough that a commander is fully capable of captaining a ship, often leading away missions precisely so the captain stays safe. A commander is a captain in waiting. 3 gold pips means you've essentially arrived. You're trusted to run a starship. You're just one step from the center seat. And that step, of course, is the one everyone dreams about. And here it is. The rank the whole franchise revolves around captain, marked by 4 solid gold pips. This is the master and commander of a starship, the person in the center seat, the one whose name becomes legend. Kirk, Picard, Janeway, Sisko, every series is built around a captain, because the captain is the heart of Star Trek. Here's what the captain really is. Beyond the pips, a starship captain has near absolute authority over their vessel and crew. And out on the frontier, light years from any admiral, they often act as explorer, diplomat, judge, and warrior all at once. They make first contact with new species. They make impossible moral choices with no one above them to ask. The captain embodies everything Star Trek believes a leader should be. Principled, curious, brave, willing to sacrifice. That's why the rank carries such weight. It's not just a job, it's the moral center of the entire franchise. 4 gold pips is the goal almost every officer is reaching for. But, and this surprises some people, it is not actually the top. Above the captain sits the admiralty, where the nature of the job changes completely. Above captain, you leave the ship behind and enter flag rank, the admiralty. This covers a whole tier of ranks, including commodore and rear admiral, vice admiral, admiral, and at the very pinnacle, fleet admiral. The insignia here gets more elaborate and, true to form, more inconsistent across the shows, ranging from different pip arrangements to special flag officer badges. The historical rank of Commodore showed up in the original series. Think Commodore Decker, sitting just above captain. Here's the honest truth about admirals in Star Trek, and it's a bit of a running theme. An admiral commands multiple ships, sets strategy, and runs entire sectors or branches of Starfleet. It's a promotion in every formal sense. But the franchise has a famously complicated relationship with its admirals. Because Star Trek is about exploration and the thrill of being out there on a ship, getting promoted to admiral often means getting pulled off the bridge and stuck behind a desk. Many of our favorite captains resisted it. Kirk famously considered accepting the admiralty one of the biggest mistakes of his life, feeling he belonged on a ship, not flying one. And more than a few Star Trek villains and tragic figures have been admirals who went astray, far from the frontier and the moral clarity it brings. So, the admiralty is the top of the ladder, the real summit of Starfleet rank, but the show quietly suggests that the best place to actually be is still in that captain's chair. At the very top sits Fleet Admiral, the highest rank in all of Starfleet, the officer who effectively runs the entire organization. One more piece, and it's the one Star Trek almost forgets exists, the enlisted ranks. Everyone we've talked about so far is a commissioned officer, someone who went through the academy. But real militaries also have enlisted personnel, non-commissioned crew who do vital hands-on work, and Starfleet has them too, even if the shows rarely focus on them. The most famous by far is Chief Miles O'Brien, a non-commissioned officer, a chief petty officer, and one of the most beloved characters in the whole franchise. Here's why O'Brien matters so much to this conversation. For most of Star Trek, the camera follows the officers, the bridge crew, the leaders. O'Brien is the great exception, the working man of Star Trek, the guy who actually fixes the transporter and keeps the station running, and the show treats him with enormous respect. Through him, we get a glimpse of the vast majority of Starfleet personnel we almost never see, the enlisted backbone that keeps every ship and station functioning while the officers get the glory. And honestly, I think O'Brien is one of the most important characters in Star Trek precisely because he reminds us that a starship isn't just captains and commanders. It's thousands of people doing the work. The enlisted ranks are Star Trek's blind spot, but O'Brien is the proof that the franchise is better when it remembers them. So that's every Starfleet rank, from a cadet who hasn't earned a pip, up through ensign, the lieutenants, lieutenant commander, commander, the legendary captain, and into the admiralty all the way to fleet admiral, with the enlisted crew quietly holding the whole thing together underneath. What I love about Starfleet's ranks is that the climb tells a story, from a nervous trainee to the person who makes the impossible choices alone on the frontier. And the quiet joke threaded through all of it is that the rank everyone dreams of, captain, might just be the best one there is, because going higher means leaving the stars behind for a desk. So tell me, if you served in Starfleet, what rank would you actually want to hold? Be honest in the comments. I've been Steven. Until the next one, take care.